Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for joining us again and we've been doing this now for nearly 3 years. And the idea behind these meditations on a Thursday and a Sunday are simply to maintain some level of consistency in practice, enable individuals to join in, but also read into what are the anticipated situations that we are all going through at the moment. And so in month of May, we have decided to use three words: survival, security, and conscious creating. And this is the nature of our situation right now. The As we anticipated nearly 18 months ago that food prices will begin to go up, there will be information or impact on energy through blackouts, etc., cyber attacks, etc. We are now in that space, and many individuals will have now experienced the incredibly increase in their everyday essentials, the fuel costs, the food costs, the costs for everyday consumables have gone up. So this energy of survival is now going to become more and more apparent. Again, last month we were looking at how to navigate this situation. So this energy of survival meaning, having to make choices, between um, uh, growing your own food or buying food, making choices. Do I wait until things become so scarce that I can't find them, or do I begin to make some resources available to myself now? So we have to recognize that the changes that we are going through are not natural, but in fact planned and deliberately orchestrated. While I say that, the overall kind of macro view is everything is divinely orchestrated. So one needs that world view to ensure that you can recognize that all that is happening the way it should happen. So, however, within this happening, there are different happenings, different cycles within cycles, and those cycles have gone from the fear based, you're all going to die from this invisible enemy, to now you're all going to die because you're going to have food restricted to you, access to food restricted to you, access to free speech restricted to you, access for you to be able to discuss these things freely reduced, access to two sides of the equation. We're going to stop putting that. Um, we're going to stop you accessing that. So all of this has created, and everyone who has any sense of self-awareness, is now able to see through their spidey senses that something feels out of alignment. That out of alignment is what you're feeling. You may not be able to see it, but we're all beginning to feel it at some level. So, this energy of survival, well, survival only requires three things: it requires a roof over your head, it requires your food, and it requires security, right? So, if we can look after this food, security, what does that mean? That simply means knowing where the threats are. So, if you know where the threat is, you can take the appropriate measure against it. So, the biggest threat at the moment is propaganda. It's the dramas that suck you into these vortices of emotional trauma, which will then begin to impact your health and well being. So, the biggest is the threat to your mind, the threat to what you allow to go within your cognitive space, who you allow in your front room. So, if you look at it in the same way, who would you allow in your front room? you will notice that majority of the people that you may allow in your front room through that little box or the screen, you wouldn't have the time of day for them if you met them over the everyday life. So this mental immunity is now of importance. Again, we suggested this maybe 12 months ago. Mental immunity, emotional immunity is going to become more important than physical immunity. And though, therefore, this mental immunity, knowing where the threat is coming from, is the first barrier that we need. The second thing we need to recognize is that all that is taking place is a happening that is happening by itself. It's a process of happening. Within that happening, you will realize that the food, the fish are going to eat, the birds are going to eat, the insects are going to, the bugs are going to eat, the infinite number of life forms are going to eat tomorrow already exists. Already exists. Your mother begins to produce the milk before you are born. The ego is but nothing but a manufactured happening of the divine cosmic current, right? So you can't fool that which has created you. So while this is going on, we can ensure that by taking the appropriate steps, we can create some level of immunity for us. So disbelieve everything. Nothing can be believed unless it's your experience. Everything else is a belief, and a belief is borrowed information. It's not your stuff, so there is no truth. Whether that is religious, whether that is political, it really makes very little difference. So, a good attitude to have is all that comes to me with a big question mark, big question, especially if it comes from the mouth of a politician or officialdom. The second thing is it's not enough to simply allow what I would call abuses of human rights to just be pushed aside, just to be pushed aside. And here we're not talking abuses in war-torn countries. We're talking about abuses here. Every day we hear of some young athlete, some young singer, some young individual having a heart attack and dying. And the number of heart attacks, if you look at post vaccination in Israel between the ages of 20 and 45, the increase is phenomenal. This cannot be forgotten. This cannot be done. Ask the mothers who've lost their children, ask the parents who've lost their children, ask the children who've lost their parents, right? That this cannot be forgotten. It is part and parcel of, otherwise it becomes yet another trauma that is buried deep in human psyche that just completely begins to, as ever, pollute everything that goes forward. So the implications of these are really important to ensure that those who were culprits of this space of injecting people and enforcing them are held accountable at some level, somewhere. And they will be. That's the way existence works. Karma works like that. Its duality is such that it always balances itself. Always. Yeah, may not be today, but purity is also when we know that we are safe. Now, the thinking you're safe and feeling safe are two different things. Safe and feeling safe are two different things. So, if, for example, we let's say everything was a complaint, so there was not enough. The politicians are a bunch of liars. The world is falling apart. I'm going to lose my job. I can't afford to live like this. And everything else. If it is a complaint, then the sum total of your complaints is an unhappy life. Yeah, unhappy life. So, for example, think of it this way, right? Look at the way our attitude is so biased, right? We have a toothache, and that one toothache can create a living hell to the point of you and I saying that, we will give anything for this toothache to go away because it becomes so difficult to endure, so hard to endure. Just one tooth. There's just one tooth that begins to ache and begins to provide you with a living hell. Right now, you probably have your teeth and none of them are aching. Yet there's no complaint. Yet there's no gratitude. So our way of looking at happiness is that when we have nothing to complain about, we complain about not having enough. Yeah. So if your teeth are not aching and not everything is kind of okay, then we complain about the fact that this is not enough. This complaining attitude creates your mental space. That mental space, psychological space, is what hell is. Hell is not a place in the world, a geographical place, a place in the Akashic records, or anything like that. Hell and heaven are simply states of your mind and my mind. And more importantly, it's our choice if we maintain that hell, create that hell, reinforce that hell, or we undo the damage of creating that hell and creating a more peaceful space for ourselves. So we reinforce these ideas that we complain about something today, and then tomorrow we will add another complaint to that same complaint to amplify it, to reinforce why we are not happy, why life is not going the way it should be going, why the life is not fulfilling what your expectations are of it. And as a result, we become unhappy and we begin to complain. That complaint then becomes your living hell. And then at the end of your life, you can say, there's no point of going to hell because I created hell while I was living. Guess what? Well, that creates what's called sanskars, which then follow you on your disintegration of your physical body. But that's another story. On the other hand, if we looked at things in a more um, productive and positive way, then the very thing that may be looked upon as negative, if we can look at it in a different way, um, we can create a way of looking at creating opportunities where we may think there are challenges. So let me share a story with you, if I can remember. Yeah. So here's a story. It's an old story. I think it comes from Far East, maybe China or Japan. But it talks about two individuals, a wise old monk and a young monk, and they live at the edge of this beautiful village of quite affluent community people. And every day they walk to the local market and do whatever trade that they can do, earn a bit of money, come back home, create a, make some food and eat it. So that's a simple life. And they have very little, very, very little. And so one day, both of them go out, and there is a thunderstorm that takes place. And during this thunderstorm, there's lightning and a small tornado, and their little hut that they had seems to be the only one that's been hit. So these two individuals, as they walk up to their residence, to their place, the young monk looks at it and he says, "It's things like this that makes me doubt the existence of God, the existence that everything happens with divine orchestration. Here we are, we've got nothing, absolutely nothing. And our tiny little hut, it's got half of its roof missing. Whereas all of these individuals who have everything with them and have no shortage of anything, food, lifestyle, yet they seemed intact. And he says, it's such events like this that makes me doubt that, you know what, is there really a God? While the other man, the older bloke, begins to smile and dance and having a fabulous time. And out of this fabulous time, it is said that he sings a song. And in that he says, I am so pleased that that storm could have taken the whole roof off, but yet you chose to leave me half a roof. And this roof is so beautiful now that when I lie down to go to sleep, and every time my eye opens, I can see your face in the stars and the moon above me. And at the same time, I have enough of a roof to cover me. Simply changing our perception changes the event. Now, we don't need to do anything deliberate to change our perception, but we need to find ourselves complaining. We need to find ourselves, how much am I complaining about? What am I complaining about? And in looking at what am I complaining about, we will realize, we will become aware of that. And as you become aware of that, you transcend it and your worldview, as your worldview shifts, that very state of mind that created a, so to speak, a life of complaints and not enough, to a life of more than enough, a life of where there is gratitude for you to be you, let alone for you not to have what you feel you are entitled to. And also recognize this: what makes you think you're entitled to happiness? What makes you think you're entitled to eyesight, to the ability to hear? What's given you the right to have this? And this isn't trying to be difficult, or it's simply a self-inquiry question. That what have I done to have all that I have today? What have I done to deserve this? To deserve this? And stop looking at the things that you think are the suffering. Look at the things that you have that you may have not even taken for granted, beginning with your breath and then moving on. So, from survival, start to look after yourself, and remember, existence looks after you if you are aware enough to look after yourself. Two, cultivate safety. Cultivate safety by knowing that which is a danger to you. And what is a danger to you is the propaganda and the rubbish that's outside. And what's danger to you is being distracted from what that needs to be done today. And what needs to be done today is consciously creating, is consciously through awareness and knowing, why am I growing this food, these potatoes, these onions? And yes, I may not need them, but someone else may do. And with that attitude, if we all begin to do our little bit, then whether there's a food crisis that's manufactured or not makes very little difference. Very little difference. And greedy human beings and corporations that will make human greed, out of human greed, will make human go into famine. So the situation is pretty serious if you look at the right bits of information. Many food processing plants around the world are starting to suddenly, catch fire and explode and that kind of thing. So you can see how the supply chain will be affected one way or another. But you know what? Existence has given you all the tools, and here we are in the start of spring, where we can truly make use of the sun, the beautiful weather, and to create enough substance for ourselves and for everyone else. Just as we were advising individuals 2 years ago on how to build your immunity, we are moving with the same energy and saying, look, don't get involved in the fear. Here are practical things that we can all do that will help you and I today and tomorrow. So, how do we cultivate safety? Well, we cultivate safety by going to that place where we feel safe. And this is where our meditation practice comes in, because that's where we That feeling, that stillness, that silence are in touch at the doorway of divinity. And as you sit in that doorway of divinity, you will find fear, anxiety, all of that disappears. What remains is stillness, silence, and with that comes safety, security, and certainty. All of the components of what it means to trust in yourself and to trust the present moment. So if we begin and just straighten your back, pull your shoulders back, make sure your neck is loose, and just draw your chin in slightly so the back of the neck stretches. So you're sitting upright, but you're not rigid, sitting with a level of, self respect. Let's use that word, self respect. Imagine if there was someone very respectful in front of you, how your posture would change, and then use that to direct your posture. Yeah, level of self respect. And then as you draw your breath in, becoming aware of your body as a whole, always start with a small body scan. Sensations are easier to pick up than thoughts and emotions. Becoming present to your body, moving away from the mental space. And as you become aware of your body, you begin to notice sensations around your body. Notice sensations where the body makes contact with whatever you're sitting on. Okay? So from that starting point, as you breathe in, you're bringing your focus to your hips and you become aware of your sensations around your hips. It's okay. No commentary, no judgment, just sensing. As you breathe out, you bring your focus down your thighs. Now do it slowly. So you become aware of the sensations, gradually moving your focus towards your knees. And then from your knees, you bring your focus down, again scanning the calf, the shin, moving to the ankle, and then coming to your feet. And then from your feet, if you can, bring focus to the soles of your feet. Next breath in, bring your focus back to the seat you're on. And allow yourself to embed yourself in the present moment, the here and now. So notice the ground beneath you. Notice that you're held in place. You've always been held. You've always been held. The ground holds you in place. And the environment around you, the warmth or the coolness, can only be experienced in the space you're in, the physical space that you occupy right now. And that physical space also has the breath you're taking now. Embedded in the here, embedded in the now. Notice your back. Bring your focus up towards your middle back from your lower back. And then again up towards your shoulder blades. So your intention is simply to notice the sensations. Don't need to label them, just notice them. Up towards your shoulders. And then as you breathe out, bring your focus down towards your elbows. And on your next breath out, you bring it out towards your wrists, moving to the palms of your hands, and then moving to the fingers of your hands. Now bring your focus to your eyes. Notice that the eyelids are closed, and you have awareness of darkness. And as you breathe out, you begin to relax and soften this part of the body. Next breath in, coming to your mouth. Notice the roof of your mouth. Notice the inside of your mouth. Relax your tongue. And then as you breathe out, relaxing your face. On your next breath in, once again becoming present to your body as a whole. And then on your next breath in, bringing your focus to your inner space. By that we mean what you're feeling and how you're thinking. So bring your focus first to your thoughts. Are there any thoughts around? What have you been thinking about today? What's your story been? Or stories? How does your mental space feel? Does it feel tired, fresh, clear? And now moving your focus to your chest. Hold it on the surface of your chest. Notice the movement of your chest. Notice that with the movement, there are tiny, subtle sensations within the body itself. See if you can notice them. Around your ribs, perhaps even in your back. And now moving your focus deeper into yourself, as though it's right in the center of your body, deep into your very core. And just hold your awareness there. And as you hold your awareness there, you begin to notice how you're actually feeling. Is this moment enough? If this was the last moment, is it enough? Do you feel settled? Do you feel unsettled? And on your next breath out, you begin to listen to the sounds around you. Allowing the sounds to come to you. Your focus just beneath your nose and begin to watch your breath. Watching the breath moving in, watching the breath moving out. Stay with your breath. Notice the in-breath coming in, notice the out-breath going out. Bringing your focus towards the outer breath in particular. Begin to follow it all the way down. See if you can notice exactly when it finishes. Remaining alert yet relaxed. Allowing each out breath to move you deeper and deeper into the moment of now. Stay with your breath, allowing each out breath to move you deeper into the moment of now. Such that you are no longer observing the breath, but become the breath itself. Allowing yourself to merge, no longer watching the breath, but becoming the breath. Notice how your breath begins to feel. Notice if the breath feels subtle, fine, or does it feel heavy and gross? Does your breath feel smooth or does it feel rough? Does the in breath feel different from the out breath? Does your breath have a sound? Breathing to the in breath, breathing, listening to the out breath. Listening. Does the in breath sound the same as the out breath? And with the same intensity and attentiveness that you're listening to your breath, allow yourself to listen to all the sounds around you. Just opening your awareness, listening to the sounds that are close to you, and then listening to the sounds which are the furthest away from you. Notice the stillness and the silence. Notice the absence of fear, anxiety, worry, and the presence of peace. Allow your awareness to move into the silence once again with the bell. Know that this silence holds you, nurtures you. In fact, it is you, peaceful, calm, secure, and conscious. Notice the feeling that you're having. A deep feeling that cannot be expressed in any words. That is divinity listening and answering. Gently bring your focus back to your breath. Sit with your breath. Notice the magic of this being, this moment, this life. On your next breath out, expanding your awareness, becoming aware of your whole body as best as you can. Notice how the body feels. Notice you still sitting in the same place you began, sensing the seat beneath you, your thighs, all the way down to your ankles and the feet and the soles of your feet. Back is still straight and upright. Shoulders, arms, hands are relaxed, comfortable. Eyes are still closed. Mouth is still closed. Face is relaxed. Once again, coming back to your breath. Breathing in, you can sense your body. Breathing out, you can sense your body. When you hear the next bell, slow deep breaths in your own good time, gently opening your eyes.